everybody. So today we are going to be kicking off a new little mini series. I am starting this because there are so many myths and legends in the AI, semantic, and data community, and a lot of them are thought to be the thing. Like, it's real. Yeah, of course it is, Ashleigh. And so I wanted to do a little mini series talking about some of these topics that I hear a lot of, that I wanted to dispel a little bit, or at least add some more detail and nuance, so that you all can do some of your own myth busting, or at least help your stakeholders to use the appropriate terminology and context for some of these topics. So the first one that we are going to be talking about is agents. I have agentic AI. It does so much on its own. I am so fancy. Well, are you, or are you just using a router? We'll get into what that means in a second. Or are you doing the scariest thing ever, which is full autonomy? Well, that's going to take over the world. Of course. I mean, is it? And so we're going to go through some of those, and I'm going to go through the different levels of agency for an agent, so you can kind of get a feel for what that means. You can maybe identify where you might be using agents already, or maybe you know you're using agents because somebody said, we're using agentic AI. Sorry, this is what this whole series is about. It's so ridiculous sometimes. It's like a marketing tactic. Doesn't mean it's not true. It just means, like, what variation of autonomy are you talking about? So we're going to get into all of that. And so if you're interested, make sure you stick around. So the first up is a simple processor. There's actually no agency in that. And an example of that would be your typical LLM response. And so humans are very much in the loop on that, because humans are usually the ones who are prompting the AI to do something. Now, you might ask yourself, well, Ashleigh, I can ask my AI to go and do other things. Yes, you can, and those are different levels of agency, because you are then giving instruction and hoping that the AI, or hopefully you've trained it, or you've done other guardrails to make sure it actually is doing what it should be doing. But those are different levels of agency. So first level is a simple processor. You are saying, hey, generate a summary of this article, or give me a outline of this book, or whatever it is that you're using, ChatGPT or Llama, or like whatever model you're using. That's a simple processor. And because humans are the ones doing the prompting, and we are the ones dictating what it should be doing when we are getting that export, we are the ones who are reviewing, because we're the ones getting that output, and we're like, yep, that's what I asked for. Or if you're really smart, let me go and make sure that the citations and things, if I'm using this thing for research, is accurate, or if I'm using this for some kind of medical or legal or financial advice, I'm going to go and make sure it's accurate, right? But like, you are the one that is in control. You're the one who's autonomous. You're figuring it out as a human, not the AI. All right, so the next one is router type. So the router type is where humans are still mostly in control, where humans are documenting what are the conditions that AI should observe and what to do when they observe it. So the AI is identifying the when. So it identifies, oh, I see this thing that you've told me to observe. And so an example of that would be, if you have an article that you're writing and you say, hey, when you see a citation highlighted in yellow, that's all it's doing. So it's not the AI doing a lot on its own, but the AI is still kind of having to figure out what it thinks is a citation and doing something that you've dictated to it when it finds it. And that doesn't always mean it's right? That's where the autonomy could fail, right? Like, it doesn't catch a citation, or it finds something else it thinks it's a citation and highlights it when it shouldn't. But that's where, humans are still mostly in control at that point. The next is a tool access. So that's where you start to get into more of what most people call autonomous agents that do something. So you're calling a tool to do something with your agent. So, a simple example of this that you might have even used yourself is like if you're using a lot of the open LLMs out there, like a ChatGPT, you can ask it to look something up on the web, or maybe it just does that on its own. So, looking something up on the web is kind of like a tool call, right? Because the AI itself is in the application that you're using it in. So, again, let's pretend it's OpenAI. And when it has to reach out to the web is like a tool, right? So in that case, the humans are still dictating what you want it to do. Now, with the example I just used, like sometimes OpenAI will just call the web, even though that's not what you told it to do, right? So there is more autonomy in that, but from autonomy from what you as the user has input into the AI. But there are still humans on the other side, like the people who built OpenAI, who have dictated, oh, when you see something like this, go call the web, right? So it's still the same principle. It's just the agency is on a different human than you as the user, but there's still humans involved. And so that's where you as the human are dictating what tool it should be calling and under what conditions. But then the AI is really handling how that tool should be called because it's connected to the APIs or it's connected to whatever it is that you are connecting it to. That's also where things get potentially more risky because are you calling something that you can trust? I mean, you still have control over this, but you know, if you have taken your hands off the wheel a little, you are trusting the AI to do the thing you told it to do correctly. And because you are a little bit more out of the loop, it's making more decisions on your behalf because it's calling a tool and you might not trust that's the best tool to use, the right tool to use, that's the accurate tool to use. So you can see like it's a wider band of risk introduced when you add additional autonomy to an AI. So you just have to make sure that you're mitigating that. Now, the next one is where you're kind of combining a few of the agent types that we've talked about already, and that is a multi-step agent. So this one, a lot of people use for things like booking my whole vacation. I've heard people do that where the AI will call the specific tools, right? So you're saying, if I ask to book my entire, traveling to Italy or wherever it is, that's the router, right? It's routed. Okay, if I'm doing this, I'm now going to do that. It's now calling tools, but it's calling multiple tools, and it's doing a bunch of different things where it's looking at what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So it's combining a lot of things, and the human still kind of dictates what that pattern is. But LLMs aren't the greatest at sequencing things as humans would. So you have to put a lot of dictation into your prompting for this to work as you would expect. You have to make sure it's calling the tools that you want it to call, because it could potentially be making decisions for you, meaning maybe you have to set, I only want to book hotels, or I would consider hotels to be booked under $200 a night or whatever it might be. And the AI has to abide by those things. But if you're giving it that much autonomy to then do the booking, you're trusting that it's calling the right hotels that you want, like maybe you're a member somewhere, that it's following your rules that, okay, I only want non-smoking, I need pet friendly, I need it to be under 200 or whatever it might be, that it's getting the right town, or the location is a certain amount of distance from the things that you're going to be doing. Like there's a lot of things here that you're trusting the AI to do. And you can see like all these other agentic types lead up to this one. So you can graduate into something this complex, but there's a reason that most of the things that we hear out there on the web are not this level of multi-step, multi-authentication, tool calling, routing complexity of AI. So that is a little bit busted, right? Because a lot of people are hesitant to do that. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. And that's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily, oh, the AI cannot be trusted. It's a computer, right? It's a really sophisticated computer. So the more complexity you give it, the greater the risk it's going to do the wrong thing, because you're trusting it and you're trusting yourself and you're trusting, whatever AI you might be using that's using an agent to do these things, that they've programmed it or prompted it to do the things that you would expect. And so that's why there's a lot more risk associated with these ones, because there's a lot of human error and AI error that can show up. And now we get to the final, which is truly autonomous AI, which almost nobody is using. Like, let's all be honest. There's a lot of risk involved with it because of the complexities and all of these other things. And there's some situations, for instance, I have heard there are certain maybe security or safety things that you need something to make a split-second decision. And sometimes humans are not there to make that decision. And so maybe that's where that autonomy comes. And it's very tiny and it has very little full autonomy on that thing. So it's hard because you got to give up a lot of control for it. And the reason for that is full autonomy means the system is making all of the decisions. Now, humans still have to set all of it up, set up what, systems and all the other things that it's going to access, what access control does it have, what should it be doing when it's in these systems and all these other things. But truly autonomous is you have stepped back from the wheel completely and you are letting it do its thing. So that sounds kind of like an autonomous car, which is not fully AI, by the way. There's a lot of other things involved with autonomous cars, and there's still human as backup, even though there's some really funny after the fact, probably scary in the moment, stories where autonomous vehicles are doing some really weird things with people in the car, and then the human backup had to intervene. That, again, in retro is funny, but at the time I'm sure it was incredibly frightening. But this is one of the reasons that full autonomy is not usually what we see. And even when it is in play, there's always a human backup somewhere, because it's a system. It's making decisions based on a series of things that it has been prompted to do, that it's trained to do. And, sometimes it can get it wrong. And depending on what the situation is that we're using the autonomy, those things going wrong could be very bad. All right, so those are all of the agentic types, and hopefully dispelling the myth that, look, it's agentic something or other. It's so fancy. Well, I mean, it can be, but the more fancy it is, the higher the risk. So, show me your details, right? Show me your security protocols, and show me what your human backup is. And so that's the big reason I wanted to make this video, is to kind of dispel some of that. If I've missed anything that you are, really adamant about with agents, let me know. I'm going to have another series, or not another series. I'm going to have another video on this where I go through some of those risks and how risky each of these types are, and perhaps how to mitigate them. So with that, I really hope this has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And with all that, I'll catch you later.